This is Jeanette with Backroads Books by 21 Crows. Come take a hike with me through Ash Cave, and I'll tell you a ghost story. Today's story is The Pale Lady of Ash Cave. For years, hikers at Hocking Hill State Park's Ash Cave have been startled by a ghostly pale woman walking the trail before she suddenly vanishes. But unlike most, this curious ghost isn't reluctant to show herself to just lone hikers. Not long in the past, in an early spring, Pat Quackenbush, a retired naturalist for Ohio State Parks, led hikers on a special guided night tour. It was a short hike along a concrete walkway, a half-mile to one particularly large recess in the sandstone called Ash Cave, where a waterfall cascades down a cliff. It was a small group of 12 people, and this night, as they walked, he would pause beneath the hemlocks and cliffs and face the group, pointing out unique features along the route. Each time they stopped, he would make a quick head count silently to himself to make sure everyone kept up with him. He did not want anybody to get lost in the dark.
10, 11, 12.
Once Pat could see he had accounted for everyone, he called attention to a deer almost hidden and grazing in the grass. He then piped up with a barred owl's call. Almost immediately was returned with a couple of hoots from deep in the forest. He always paused before each stop. There were usually one or two stragglers in the line who would get caught up in the charm of the fairyland-like trail.
10, 11.
He counted in his head.
Yep, 12. All there.
And if needed, Pat would patiently wait for a minute or two so anyone left behind could catch up before he doled out another trinket or two about the unique area around them. About a quarter of the way, he realized that one dawdler had seemed to creep from the shadows right before he started his spiel.
10, 11, 12, and...
He counted.
13.
At first, Pat thought perhaps he had counted the number of people wrong when they met. He thought maybe this extra hiker had been enjoying the walk alone under the huge hemlocks and wanted some time away from the rest of the group. It was not as troubling that there was one more person added to the group than there was one less. So instead of waiting and making a recount, the naturalist decided to continue, knowing the straggler would eventually catch up with the group. He was about halfway to the cave when he stopped long enough to talk about an ancient beech tree near the trail. The group had made a half circle around him, and while they did, he made a great effort to count everyone quickly.
10, 11, 12.
He glanced up and noticed the straggler was only about 5 feet from the hikers.
13.
He had counted correctly, but number 13 was not like the rest. He noted she was wearing old-fashioned clothing, a feed sack dress commonly worn by the thrifty women in the 19th century Depression era who used flour and feed sacks to make their clothing. The mysterious guest was so out of place with the group. He was thrown off guard and simply brought it to everyone's attention.
I turned my attention behind the group,
Pat said,
and proceeded to ask if they could see the woman who was standing there and had been following us. I watched them reluctantly turn, and there was more than a few gasps. I wasn't alone. Everyone on that hike saw her.
Then she took 2 steps and disappeared into the woods. Since then, others have brought the lone hiker that strays behind the group to his attention. Once in a while, witnesses have reported seeing a woman peeking from behind a tree. Then she vanishes from sight. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Sometime Between Dusk and Dawn Ghost Stories. If you like it, please pass it along. And most of all, I hope I helped you find your scary place sometime between dusk and dawn.